The original Eureka Flag. Its story is very interesting because in 1854 this was used as evidence at the trials in 1855 of the Eureka rebels, the 13 who were found not guilty of high treason, of the fact these were traitorous people who swore allegiance to a foreign flag, the Southern Cross. So it was used as evidence initially. Now, when the trials finished, spectacularly unsuccessful, because the traditional method of execution for high treason, hanging, drawing and quartering. You know what that means? Yeah. First of all, you hung to an inch of your life. Then your body's put down on the floor or wherever. Then your guts are split. Then the executioner pulls out your guts and burns them. And why do they burn the guts? Because of the smell. Because remember, these are public executions. And they want, not everybody can see the body, but everybody can smell burning intestine. And then you have horses on the arms and the legs, and you pull out off the arms and the legs. And this was the punishment in 1855 that the 13 men who were tried for high treason were waiting for if they were found guilty. Now, when the trials finished, this flag was given to Trooper King, who was the man who shot Captain Ross, who was the bridegroom of the Eureka Flag, whose responsibility from the 29th of November when it was first flown at Bakery Hill was to protect the flag. He was shot in the guts. They ran up the flagpole, cut the flag, brought it down. Trooper King brought it down. So at the end of the trial in 1855, the flag became the personal property of the King family. It was given by the courts to the King family. And it was used occasionally for Methodist Sunday picnics.
What is that?
Well, just as a drawing card, this is the rebels' flag, you know, when they sold their scones and raised money, you know. In 1891, it was donated, not given, to the Ballarat Art Gallery. And it was put in a drawer and forgotten about. Well, no, it was folded up. It doesn't take long to fold up a flag, Ruth. You should know that.
What's the difference between Mr. being an expert on flags?
We realise that, and neither am I. I'm making all this up.
What's the difference?
Now, I'm going to go back now a few days, or a few decades.
Between donated and given?
Well, if it's donated, it still was the property.
Oh,
Now, the reason Trooper King got the flag is the courts gave it to the State Library of Victoria. Sorry, in 1891, the family wanted to donate the flag to the State Library of Victoria, who refused to accept the donation. And then it was given to the Ballarat Art Gallery as a gift. But it was donated. It was still the property of King. But going back to its origins, this is the story. Whether it's true or not, I don't know. The Ballarat Reform League, on the eve of the huge monster meeting on the 29th of November at Bakery Hill, there were 13 people in the Ballarat Reform League, were the coordinators or conveners. They were thinking of an idea for a flag. Because if you look at the goldfields, all the different movements, whether it was in Creswick, in Bendigo, had their own distinctive flags. So, and all the businesses had distinctive flags. So why do you need flags? Because these were tent cities. So people needed to know, where are the rebels? Where are the lemonade sellers? Where is the theatre? Where are the prostitutes?
Where's the Sly Grog?
Where is the Sly Grog? People needed to know. And that's why flags were so important, because they donated the essence of a building. Denoted. Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Madam Chair. Denoted. Karen, number 2. Now,
story goes that one of the gentlemen had a full bladder from having a few too many sly grogs. And he was outside relieving himself and he saw the Southern Cross, this is the story, in the sky. And he raced back in and he told people that this should be the symbol because you can only see the Southern Cross from the Southern Hemisphere. And you've got to understand that you've got nothing to do except fornicate at night in a tent city with very little entertainment. You're looking up in the sky, you can see the Southern Cross, and you can tell you're in a different continent because you can't see the Southern Cross in the Northern Hemisphere.
So that was instead of thinking about England.
Exactly. It depends on your gender, whether you thought about England and what position you were in, but we won't get into that. Although the missionary position, I understand, was popular at that time.
Still is.
Is it? This is the A-rated version of the Eureka Flag. So we've got public urination and sex. What else do we need? A bit of flagellation, that comes in later. So there are two stories. There is one that everybody accepts and one which is contentious. And the story that everybody accepts is that this task was, they accepted the concept of the Eureka Flag being the Southern Cross. They had 24 hours to do something. They contacted 3 local women, of which Val Dangry, I think Dangria was one of the chief, and they used their petticoats, which is the white part of the flag, to make the stars and to make the crosses and to make the blue. Because in those days, if you look at, women wore voluminous petticoats, and there's a fascinating story about the Eureka Massacre that this miner runs into this tent and there's this woman there for voluminous petticoat, and he said, hide me, and she said, get under my skirt. And the troops came in looking for this bloke they were going to bane it to death, and they couldn't find him because he was under the lady's skirt. Another story. There's a lot of stories about the Eureka. So the story is that they made the flag that night. That's why you've got the 8-pointed star. It's easy, you fold it over, cut it. The difference between, as I said before, the Eureka Flag is the 8-pointed star, the Southern Cross on the Australian flag is the 7-pointed star. That's the difference. The other story is that a tent maker, again another woman who owned a tent making business, would have been a very profitable business in the goldfields, was asked to sew the flag that night. Now, Dorothy Wickett, who's a very important self-taught historian here in Ballarat, as part of the Ballarat Heritage Association, who's written a large number of things with Claire Gavassoni, including the Eureka Encyclopedia in 2004 for the 150th anniversary, claims that there was no way Val and her mates could have sewn this flag because they were in Bendigo on that night. And she actually was interviewed on the ABC and threw a time bomb this morning, because there are people who built their reputation on the fact they are descendants of the women who made the flag in this city. So again, it's contentious. But whether somebody doing a piss saw the Southern Cross and raced inside and said the Southern Cross should be our symbol, or whether it was a more considered act, who knows. So in 1891 it was donated, not given, but donated to the Ballarat Fine Art Gallery. Now, it was put in a drawer and forgotten for about 30 years. And then in the 30s, it was rediscovered. And when important guests came to the Ballarat Art Gallery, what you think are bullet holes, square bullet holes, are not square bullet holes. What they used to do is cut out a little piece of flag and give it as a souvenir to the important guests of the Ballarat Art Gallery. And you'll find that 3 years ago, there was an attempt to sell one of these pieces, which was stopped. The auction was stopped. But before then, many of these pieces are now of the Eureka Flag owner private collections. So they're not bullet holes. You can see how they've been cut out, right? Sacrilege. Almost the same sacrilege that we saw in the wall in the cemetery today. So then in the 40s, the Communist Youth League took an interest in the flag. They discovered it was in Ballarat, it wasn't being displayed, and they were involved in a long-term campaign
which over about 20-25 years, they were called the Eureka Youth League, who were part of the Australian Communist Party, led to its initial display in the Ballarat Art Gallery. And there's this constant battle. Does it belong to the King family? Does it belong to the descendants, the children of the descendants of Eureka? Does it belong to the people? And when this new museum was made, the Museum of Australian Democracy at Eureka, the deal was that the flag would come here and be displayed here. But everybody forgot there would be an entry fee to come and view what is arguably one of the most important, pivotal symbols of Australian radicalism, available. And it's only on the 3rd of December that after a long discussion and toing and throwing with the Ballarat Museum, with this museum, that it was decided to make the 3rd of December a date for entry. Now, if you are a Ballarat citizen, you can come to the museum and say you're a Ballarat citizen. You can come and watch it. You can come and see the flag. So it's here. Who knows what its history is? What's important is its symbolism. Whether it was here or not doesn't matter. What matters is that it's here. It's an important symbol of Australian independence. It's still a radical banner. It's still shunned by most Australians. Although a number of people have tried to usurp the Eureka flag as the flag of Australian nationalism, Australian nationalism based on racism. If you look at the history of the Eureka movement, it was an international movement. 2 of the men of the 13 tribe for high treason were blacks. One was a black American from New York, another one was a black American from Jamaica. Because remember, the Commonwealth, all these people had rights of entry to the colonies because they were part of the British Commonwealth. One, Mr. Sorensen was a Jew. 3 or 4 were, I think, Irish nationalists. Raphael Cavani was Italian. There was a people from Prussia, Bern, he was there to try. So it's an international movement. And for everybody to say, you ever see a racist with the Eureka flag, you can say to them, mate, you got your history wrong. This is the flag of internationalism. It is the flag of solidarity, direct action, direct democracy. It is the flag of Australian independence. Sure.